Mastery of the inquiry process. So this is an overview video of some skill sets plus other stuff that's not you. So some of the core practices that will really enhance and take you to mastery level, where you can deal with all sorts of terrible stuff in your life, bad habits and people and things, to heal them so you can be present with them and stay present, if not connected to step 4, the divine yum yum. In life, in those situations, is these tools I'm going to talk about here. So go and check out the 3 brain inner child videos, working and learning to work with your heart brain, these 40,000 odd brain cells, plus your heart center, your divine heart spark at the different levels, to be unconditional love and acceptance of what is the inner child. It's very, very potent. Yeah, you're using your imagination a bit, eh? I mean, that's probably the only one place in this entire framework teaching where I'd ask you to use your imagination instead of just looking for hardcore evidence, 3D. Right? The other thing you can do to work with your beliefs and heal trauma and all that sort of stuff is, you know, the regression past life-y type processes, and that's included here in the half timeline process. So you are actually using one of your esoteric structures, your Merkaba, your chariot of light, which is above all of your esoteric structures that are in your body, your chakras, your Sushumna, your Haras, your Dantians, all that sort of stuff. Your Merkaba feeds all those, where I take you through how to use either the half, the tetrahedron, or if you've worked on developing your actual Merkaba, then you can use that for your past life, future life, in the womb, back to your teenager years, or when you were 3, to unhook and heal the emotions, the beliefs, the cellular trauma, flicking DNA genes off and on if you've gone into doing DNA work with your timeline. So check that page out. So with the half timeline process, I've used it for some pretty powerful stuff. Reversing the lactose intolerance, which meant I had to turn on my lactase gene, was very successful. I've also done it for various other things in my life, like changing the chemistry of my brain to not run on fear as the default setting, and that timeline was so powerful it actually took 6 months for everything to integrate through, because it just changed so much structure within me. My operational paradigms had to shift, and that's why the Phoenix healing that I do here is like a 4-session process, or one where I do the healing remotely at the transpersonal level, but the other 3 is about getting you clear on what's required and then follow through. So you adjust, so you deal with the things that come up because you've made a shift, so you are comfortable about making those changes, because everybody around you, typically, unless you've got conscious people in your life, people hate it when everybody else changes. They want you to be stuck Fred that I know so well, or I want Jill to be the way she is, so when I say a certain thing she'll start screaming and yelling at me. If you change in you and then they want to push that button and it doesn't work anymore, they might be quite resistant, eh? People hate change, and that's the problem. So this is how you change fast, is using these tools. So half timeline therapy is remarkably powerful, and that comes with you know, that page on that. The other part too, and it is a part, it's called parts integrations. This is the, you could call it Gestalt therapy's belt around it. So when you go into trauma or something happens, and typically a lot of this stuff's installed before you're 7 years old, but it can happen at any time, there's aspects of your consciousness splinter off from the whole of you. So it's become a part, a Gestalt. There are spiritual teachings or spiritual methodologies out there called soul retrieval. I know the American Indian people use soul retrieval. So that could have 2 meanings. Actual soul aspects, which is, that's pretty high level work, but soul retrieval in terms of retrieving your consciousness of you in this incarnation. So you're here. So, it's like a cake. You're born as when you're conceived, you're a whole cake, and then parts splinter off to deal with certain behaviour patterns or certain situations to keep you safe. And with the way the unconscious mind works, which is pillar 5, the way it works is you may actually be running a bad behaviour, but deeper down in your system, it's doing that to keep you safe. Fight, flight. This is what these parrots do when they freak out. Bing, gone. No thinking, it's just automatic response. So parts integrations are, you got one of those funny flies on you, mate. So with parts integrations, that gives you the chance to reintegrate splintered aspects of your consciousness, whether you call it soul retrieval or gestalts, parts therapy. So you're bringing those aspects of your consciousness back into you consciously, and it joins up with the rest of you, so it has more resources to do whatever its task was without doing the destructive behaviour or the destructive response. So you can just be here. Parts integrations are very powerful. That teamed with the timeline regression stuff and inner child is three mega potent power tools that I've certainly learnt over my 3 decades or so of being on this self-improvement path, the awakening path, the healing path. So if you've learnt other skills, then you can use those as well. Presence first, correct presence practice first. So you're present while you're doing all this, and you will learn to hold your presence while you're doing these other things. It's a habit. You've just got to burn in your neurology and your psychology so you can be a master of it, like tying your shoelace. I'm sure you can do that by now, eh? You want to come down? You want to come down? You can come up here and have a knee to yourself? Yeah. So be patient with yourself, like I am with this bird, trying to get it up on my knee. Although he just seems to be more intent on biting me, don't you, mate? Eh? You're a lazy bird. So in terms of some things with inquiry that aren't yours, it sounds weird, doesn't it? So Eckhart Tolle references this in his book, The New Earth, where he talks about collective belief patterns. This is the stuff that we take on unconsciously that's not ours. For instance, when you walk down the road and you're going to cross the road, do you stand there and wait for the lights to change even though there's no cars within 300 metres? Or do you walk across the road? Do you feel the tension of being in the collective belief system that you have to stand there until you get the little cross sign? Do you? Don't you? It's a choice. But that's an example, a light level of a collective belief system, and every different culture has their belief systems that you can choose to buy into or not. But if it's been brought up through your culture, your country and your family, these things can be quite entrenched. So when you're working with your inquiry stuff, if you're dealing with a specific issue that you know is yours, sometimes you might find stuff that comes up that you think, that's not mine. Why did that float through my head? Well, guess what? Allowing everything to be as it is, just treat it in the same way and dissolve it into your presence. You don't need to say, oh, well, that's not mine, therefore I'm going to ignore it. If it's come up while you're doing your inquiry, then treat it the same as if it is yours, even though it's not. It's your collective belief patterns. But with practice, does that sound familiar? With practice, with repetition, with discernment, and law zero of getting clear on these things, you'll learn to feel the difference between a personal belief system and a collective one that you've just kind of taken on. Yeah. That can take a while, but you will learn to do that. So one of the complicating factors is also when you're doing your inquiry process and you've kind of worked through it, you might sense there's something else there. So is there an opposing part? So you may have a particular drive or an aspect of you that wants to go this way, but you might have another part that thinks that's a bad idea and it wants to go that way, and it's in competition. If you can catch the one that wants to do the opposite as well, or is in war with that part, so for instance you've got a particular behaviour pattern and then you develop another one to try and smash it down. So this one also has aspects of your consciousness tied up away from your presence, your everythingness. And it will have its own set of beliefs that will be different, possibly even totally opposite to the part you're working on, but it's always good to check. So then when you go through the review process and then you go out into life, that you don't start doing something else. So opposing parts may also be a complicating factor. Again, that'll take practice unless I'm taking you through one specifically in a coaching session. Another little thing that may happen too when you're in your inquiry process, and say you're examining a subject here and something unrelated pops up. It's okay just to take a look at it and see if it's, again, an opposing part, a new belief system, a totally different issue. If it's just cropped up, just take a quick look. And if it's something big, then, you know, go back to it later and then finish off this part. But just be aware of things that seem a little bit left of field, a little bit strange, a little bit, hey, that's not me. Yeah, this is advanced stuff. So if you're doing enough inquiry, you will come across these issues, and it's just good to be aware of them. That's why this is called the mastery level of inquiry. Those tools plus these things like collective stuff. So with this mastery process, it's something that just keeps growing as you add more to your toolkit for how to work with things, how to deal with your consciousness, how to deal with the wide range of issues that may crop up, be they yours, not yours, collective, personal, past life, the whole lot, physical, mental, emotional, DNA. I can take you through some DNA work if you need to do that sort of stuff. So the inquiry process is something that's as rich as you want to make it. I'll see you in the next video. I'm Jason at AwakenedEssence.com. You're a very mellowy birdie. It's nice that you guys have been calm today.